Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaRevelis and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link down in the description to the page, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. My name is Joshua Revelis. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down with fellow enthusiasts to talk about what's going on in the technology, business, and gaming world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Revelis. I am your host as usual. And yeah, welcome back to this week's episodes. Well, episodes really, because there's two this week. So as you guys voted on the poll, we're gonna be talking about AMD, and I know this is kind of more of a it's a very broad topic, so I'm gonna see how much I can actually cover in our given time frame that we usually do these episodes. But AMD, obviously, I think if you are somebody that's well aware of the tech space, obviously you guys know who AMD is, you guys know what they're about, and you obviously know what they're known for. Obviously, in terms of competition, they are Intel's biggest competitor, and obviously AMD's biggest, or Nvidia's biggest competitor, really, because AMD not only does CPUs, but they also do their own graphics cards. And obviously, if you're somebody that likes using Mac, obviously you know that, or Mac OS really, you know that they're well integrated with AMD cards, and they do more focused around AMD graphics cards rather than Nvidia cards, which is, I think it's mainly because of a falling out between Nvidia and Apple, but that's a different story. But AMD, I think right now we're in a very interesting predicament when it comes to AMD. Mainly because of the whole the third gen CPUs coming out, or Zen 2 architecture really, that are launching soon. Obviously, I think anybody that watched the announcement when they showed them off, everybody is really intrigued by them. I know that, to me personally, I'm very excited. Obviously, as somebody that is considering building a tower PC soon, obviously some people will be like, wait, Josh, you have a PC though. And I'm like, well, there's a laptop and then there's also the tower, but I wish I had a tower as well, because I think having a set station would be really nice. But that's a whole nother topic. But anyways, AMD's new CPUs are launching. Obviously, we know what that entails. Obviously, when the new CPUs drop, that means the older ones will go down in price, and the older ones were already really good too. So there's that. But obviously, I think this also comes down to a whole thing of AMD as in general. Like, AMD, while they get the market very hyped up, they seem to die down really quick, especially if you think about it. Like, I was watching an article regarding AMD stocks, and I proposed the question, is AMD stocks worth it right now, especially since they're like, at this current recording, let me actually pull up the stock market real quick. Stock market is indicating that AMD is trading for $31.24 a share. So, fairly respectable share, very expensive. So it's not that bad. Obviously, anybody that, for anybody that listens to the show and you're invested in the stock market, I'm not going to pretend I'm a financial advisor. I am definitely not. I'm not an advisor. I'm going to be straight with you. I'm definitely not. So don't ask me about anything regarding that stuff, because, I can't tell you how to manage your finances. But AMD stock is going to be very interesting going into this, I'd say, year, especially, or this next quarter. Many people are predicting that it's going to shoot up because of the announcement that the AMD second gen Zen 2 architecture, aka their third gen CPUs, will be inside the next Xbox and PlayStation. So this has a lot of the market going, because it's like, wait a minute. So you have the two biggest consoles on the market saying that they're going to partner with AMD for CPUs, which is huge because, and Sony and Xbox would always make their own custom CPUs, which were garbage. The Jaguar CPUs were terrible. Personally, they were underclocked garbage. But obviously, the fact that they're going for the Zen 2 architecture, so basically next gen CPUs, is a huge step forward. Clearly, I think anybody in the industry knows that's a pretty big move. But obviously, I think something that's interesting to me is that AMD builds up all this hype, and then it doesn't seem to translate into sales if you think about it. And that's what the article was talking about, was how AMD, they build up all this hype for the CPUs and everything because, yeah, people like AMD CPUs. They're really good. I don't think their graphics cards are phenomenal. I think in terms of performance, yeah, but I think Nvidia still hasn't beat in terms of the price market and everything that they're in, really. If I'm being honest with you guys, they are. Like, I personally will always use an Nvidia graphics card. I just like that the software is well integrated. I think that in terms of what the Nvidia has been doing with the cards, they've been really good. Obviously, ray tracing, but I care more about the software. Like the GeForce experience makes the graphics cards phenomenal. It makes it so easy for people to stream without having graphics cards, able to record videos. I think Nvidia does a lot. I'm not that familiar with AMD graphics cards, but from the people that I know that have had them before, they're not really that good. Like the CPUs are phenomenal. They're great. People love them more than Intel's right now, especially because Intel's charging a heavy premium and the new CPUs. If you're somebody that's been keeping up with AMD, the new, I think it was the Ryzen 7 3700X actually is going to be the first commercial, I think it was a 32 thread processor for consumers. That's huge. Intel 7 nanometer chip as well, so definitely more power efficient, so it's not gonna run as hot. It's gonna be a very efficient chip. It's gonna run really cool in comparison to Intel's i9-9900K, or obviously, yeah, it performs better. The Ryzen 7 3700X actually performs far better than, actually, no, wait, hold on, probably looking at the wrong CPU. Let me bring up this list again. Let me because I think the Ryzen, if I'm correct, let me see, third gen Ryzen. Here we go. Let me see if there's any images regarding this. No, those are the boards. Should be somewhere here. Maybe. I think it should be the 3700X if I'm correct. Let me see. Actually, no, my bad. It is not the 37. It's actually the 3900X. So I was off by a little bit. So it's a 12 core CPU with 32. Actually, no, 16 core. My bad. 16 core CPU, 32 threads. Yeah, the Ryzen 9 3900X. 12 core. 12 core. World's first 12 core gaming. 24 threads, 12 core. Boost start base clock of 3.8 gigahertz. Boost up to 4.6 gigahertz. 70 megabytes of cache. 105 WTDP. So obviously, really big. Clearly, this is a huge step because it's a 12 core. Obviously, it's using Navi, which has a lot of people interested. Zen 2 Navi, 7 nanometer chip. Obviously, yeah, this is crazy. Clearly, I think this is this has Intel's scared shitless. Clearly, I'm not gonna lie with you guys. Intel, that's why they had to lower the price of the i9-9900K. I know there's a lot of numbers going by. They had to lower it by like $100 just to compete because they're scared of this cake. But even though this card draws a lot of attention, clearly it does, it seems to not generate the same hype. If you think about it, like the hype doesn't translate into sales. And this is kind of the direction I wanted to take this episode, was the whole idea of why is AMD so hyped, but it doesn't do so well. If you think about it, it just doesn't translate into sales. Like The article talked about how they've been consistently dropping like over 15% of sales every year, like, and it just keeps increasing more and more how much they lose. And it's not that their products are bad. It just comes down to the whole thing of, I just think the hype doesn't translate into sales, which to me is shocking. Like, I'm like, I don't know how. Like, personally, I think for me personally, as somebody that really likes AMD, I think this is something that is kind of interesting. Obviously, in terms of somebody that likes, I think somebody that actually likes, what's it called? For somebody that really likes stocks, if you like stocks, to me, it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing with this stuff, especially because, actually, wait, my bad. No, wait, there was actually a bigger CPU. Whoop. I just got confirmation. Yeah, there was a bigger CPU. It was the Ryzen 9. Yeah, actually was right. Yeah, the 16 core 32 threads. Yeah, that's the one I thought. 8 plus. Yeah, it is a 72 megabyte. So 8 megabytes of L2 cache and L3, 8 megabytes of L2 and 64 of L3. PCIe 4.0. It has a 16 plus 4 plus 4, 100 TDP of 105 watts, and it's going to be at $749, so obviously a lot cheaper than the i9-9900K. The first commercial 16 core 32 thread CPU, and obviously, yeah. But you get the point. Is like all these CPUs generate so much hype, but for some reason, it doesn't translate into sales. And as somebody that's investing in the stock market, you know, I'm about to start investing in stocks, and AMD to me looks personal like a really good enticing offer, especially because, yeah, I get it when people say that, you know, for beginners you should always avoid tech because tech is a very high risk, high reward. So you can invest a good amount of money and you can easily lose that money depending on because it can go either way. I personally just don't know what to tell you guys. AMD to me, for me personally, AMD has been very consistent. It has always been a very powerful performer in the market. It has always done what it's needed to do in the price ranges that's in. I always recommend them to people, like, especially for what you're getting, the value you get out of them. I think they're incredible. Like, obviously for starting PC, if you are somebody that does, you know, YouTube videos and everything, I would recommend that you get the Ryzen 7 2700X. If you really want a good CPU with 8 cores, really good speeds and everything, yeah, I would recommend the 2700X. Or even, you know, if you want a little bit of a budget, the Ryzen 5 2600 is really good, but I'd probably just spend a little bit extra and get the X. It's really good. 6-core processor is really good. And then obviously make sure you get Nvidia's graphics card. But I think personally, I just like this whole idea of AMD's hype not translating into sales is probably the most worrying. Because think about it. Like, if you look at when the new CPUs were released, like, how old was this when they announced them? Like, June 11th is when they started announcing this stuff. So, like, yeah, E3 is when I think it was like around E3 time is when they announced them, pretty much. The hype was there. There's tons of videos talking about these things. Like, Linus Tech Tips did a video, Review Tech USA did a video. All these people that are well known in the industry, especially Linus. Like, I think even Unbox Therapy did a video too. They all started talking about it. And where's the hype now? Where's the conversation going? Like, there's no... It's not even... I think it's... if I'm correct, if I'm looking at the calendar, probably like not even 3 weeks yet. And there's still nothing yet. Like, no news, no people talking about them. It's just, hey, everybody's just waiting for the new CPUs to come out so that the old ones can go on sale and blah, blah, blah. But you get the point, is that the hype doesn't seem to be translating into sales. Like, I think anybody that's upgrading, clearly, you're definitely going and buying one of the new Zen 2 chips. Clearly, you will, because in the price range they're in, they're really good prices. It's a good range. Obviously, you know, in comparison to people's budget, yeah, they're pretty pricey, and you're probably just gonna stick with the older ones, clearly. Personally, I'm probably just gonna buy a Ryzen 7 2700X. I don't see any point to buy a Ryzen 7 3700X because that's probably like over double the price, so probably not. But you get my point, that the hype doesn't seem to translate into sales. And for me, personally, I'm just going to give you my personal advice. I'm probably going to buy one stock of AMD, and I want to see how this plays out. I recommend that if you are investing in stocks and anything like that, I'd recommend that you talk to your financial advisor. If you're barely getting into it, be very careful with the stock market, guys. I'm telling you this now. Like, there's a lot of free resources on YouTube that will explain to you guys how to manage the stock market, what's a good investment to make, especially if you're starting out. Like, there's a lot of things you can do to help you understand what this is. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what to do because, I'm not that familiar with it. I'm still figuring some things out, but I will say if for all of you guys that are interested in the market, if your budget allows it, I would buy a stock of AMD and then see how it plays out. But you have to be very mindful. You have to watch if it's going to go down or go up. And if it skyrockets, I would sell the second this thing gets the highest. You feel like the highest it's going to get. Like, I would sell immediately. Like, that's pretty much my best advice. Depending, if you see, like, if it jumps up to like 100, 200 or something, like, if it does, I'm just saying highball, hypothetical. If it gets that high, I would sell immediately. I wouldn't bet it because it's probably going to drop. So that's my advice. But I think in terms of as a customer, I think it's kind of sad to me that AMD's hype doesn't translate into sales, and they're still losing money. They're still doing financially well. They're still financially successful company. They're still in good graces with the community and everything because people love AMD, because that's why people think that AMD just makes better CPUs and they're just eating Intel's lunch, which is true. I think Intel chips are really good when it comes to raw power, and gaming and streaming, or multitasking and streaming, is AMD's strong suit. But AMD is now showing that, hey, Intel, we're taking your lunch, because the Threadripper 2 is already a monster. Like, it is a beast. It's better than the Xeon processors by a lot. It is. Like, if you're a professional, Threadripper 2, that's your go-to. I'm telling you that right now. It's your go-to. But that's really all I got. Like, I don't really know what else to talk about. I think in terms of covering everything, I think we pretty much covered the stock thing. I think in terms of stocks, just be mindful of that stuff, guys. Yeah, just don't go too crazy with it. Be mindful of that stuff. That's my advice. Just be mindful of it. Don't get too crazy. And in terms of people that are interested in the new CPUs, if it's time to upgrade, guys, if you could finance the CPUs, like, they're not that expensive. Like, obviously, yeah, they're really good. I think if you're somebody that's big baller, I'd say the 3700X is a great spot, like $329. If you have the budget for it, I'd buy it. If you can finance it, and if you want to, I think if you're somebody that's interested in building credit, I think it's a good option personally. Like, especially for college students, like, building credit, you kind of want to build it. Essentially, it's a really good thing. You just have to know how to manage it properly. And that's my advice is, you have to be mindful on how to manage this stuff, because credit, it can easily ruin your life if you're not smart with it. If you know what you're doing, it's going to benefit you so much. Like, that's my advice. If you know how to manage it, it is so good for you. It's absurd. But I think in terms of the hype and everything, I do believe that there is an imbalance between the amount of hype AMD gets and then not translating into sales. I think there's a strong argument that people can make that is true, and that's what's happening with AMD. But I can also see some people arguing that that's not a thing. It just, coincidence. But I don't think a coincidence happens like 3 times in a row. Like, really, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't happen just back to back. Personally, it doesn't. Like, it definitely shows. Not even back to back. I think it's just a lot. If you think about it, like, it's happened with every single launch of something new with AMD. Like, it's happened a lot. Like, but And that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I know that it's a little bit more, well, I wouldn't say weird. It's just, I think in terms of the majority of people that listen to my show, they might be like, AMD, but obviously Friday's episode is going to be really, really nice because we're going to talk about the Pokemon games. I have positive and negative things to say about it, but we'll save those for the episode for sure. Obviously, I thank you guys for coming back and listening to the show. You know, the show's doing really well. Obviously, we have the huge interview lined up next week, Monday. Next week, we have the huge interview lined up. And, you know, I might need to repost that poll of what to do with it because I didn't see anything about it. So I'll repost the poll and see what you guys think. But yeah, I thank you guys for your time. I love you guys to death so much. I hope you guys take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys on Friday. Have yourselves a wonderful week until Friday. And I'll see you guys then. I love you guys to death. Bye, guys.